Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, for allowing me to speak today. My name is Caroline Yort, and I would like to tell you about the impact that sports betting has had on my immediate family. My 29-year-old son is recently in recovery from a gambling addiction that threatened to take his life. I don't think in the time I have here that I can even scratch the surface of the worry, devastation, and stress that is experienced when you have a loved one addicted to gambling. One of the problems with an online gambling addiction is that on the outside, no one has any idea that there's anything wrong. There are no physical signs of addiction. You don't nod off or pass out. There are no track marks on your arm. You can't do a blood test for online sports betting, but it is just as deadly, if not more so than any other addiction, because it is so easily hidden from public view. Hopefully the following will give you a glimpse into what happens when someone starts online betting. Our son started sports betting about 5 years ago while living in North Carolina and then Colorado. Living far away from home allowed him to keep his gambling habits from us for several years, but he became deeper and deeper in debt, even though he had employment that paid a good salary and was well-liked and doing well at his job. He ended up so far in debt that he declared bankruptcy to try to get his finances under control and keep a roof over his head. But the problem he needed to address was not the lack of money. It was a gambling addiction. So all his efforts were to no avail. As one of his counselors later said about bankruptcy, "Wow, thanks for the free money, U.S. government. Now my debts are paid off and I can keep gambling." About a year ago, my son was completely consumed by online sports betting, predatory loans to pay off gambling debts, depression, lying, deception, manipulation, and everything that goes along with any addiction. He had ruined many personal relationships and had nowhere to turn but to his parents. We naively thought that if we could just cut off his access to money and take away his phone and or computer, the gambling would stop. The problem was that the access or lack thereof to funds and devices was not the issue. There was always a predatory agency that would give him a short-term loan at an exorbitant interest rate. He could always find another phone. His brain had been physically changed to demand the higher levels of dopamine that gambling gave him, identical to the effects of heroin. His brain would not and could not turn off the search for that high without an intervention. He said to us multiple times, "I just want it to stop, and I just want it to end." Try hearing that as a mom. We were desperate to help him. You have to understand that my son is an exceptional human being. He's brilliant. He skipped the first grade. He was first in his class every single year, extremely athletic. He was a nationally ranked swimmer and played on the U.S. youth soccer national team. He played soccer in college at a Division I scholarship, and graduated magna cum laude. He's an empathetic, kind, and compassionate human being. We knew all of that was still in there somewhere, even though he was withdrawn, isolated, and completely removed from the child we thought we had raised. After contacting multiple treatment centers in Georgia trying to get him help and hearing repeatedly, "Is it just gambling?" we didn't know where to turn. He and we were at the end of our respective ropes. We were terrified he would lose hope and would end up taking his life. His nieces would no longer get the snuggles of their Uncle Bubba. He was down a massive hole that he had no idea how to climb out of. In 2022, I had a chance meeting with Jeannie Seaver of Moms Against Gambling. I knew she was involved with trying to keep online sports betting from becoming legal in Georgia. So this past summer, I found her on Facebook and messaged her. She responded and connected me with a gambling addict specialist. He helped us gain access to one of only 3, and I say 3, treatment centers in the entire country that specialize in gambling addiction. And it was covered by our son's work health insurance, thank God. 5 days after our initial contact with the treatment center in Virginia, our son was able to begin proper counseling and the intervention that was crucial to his recovery. He was able to retrain his brain to accept normal levels of dopamine. Treatment centers that don't specialize in gambling do not know how to handle things that are only a problem in online gambling addiction, like access to your phone and computer. Everyone has a phone these days. It's a necessary part of life. It is also the primary way a gambling addict feeds his addiction. Imagine a heroin addict having a ready-to-go syringe in his hand at all times, or a binge eater having a tray full of their favorite food in their lap. and then tell them, just ignore it. Let's see how far that gets you. Our son is doing well now, thank God, but I am not sure that the worry and stress will ever really be over for me. It will be a lifelong process for him and a lifelong worry for his family. I implore you to not pass this legislation out of committee. Please do not send it any further. The proceeds from legalizing online sports betting in the state of Georgia are gained on the backs of people like me and the lives and deaths of people like my son. This really is a matter of life and death. It is not, as Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones has said, money that just falls in our lap. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.